Road rage. I'm a very, very calm person. Unless computers act crazy, because you kind of rely on them to do everything that I do. Or if I encounter, dare I say, straight up assholes while driving. I want to tell you a little short story about Jake Whitman, truck driver, passing through Wichita Falls, Texas on 287, Highway 287. I used to live in Wichita Falls, Texas. That's why this story kind of, made me perk up a little bit. And I am a connoisseur of sorts of road rage. I travel a lot, people. I drive from town and state to state and city to city and everywhere. Sometimes I'll drive 20 hours straight, and it doesn't matter where I'm at. I constantly encounter, I'm not going to say it's you, but it could have been, straight up assholes on the road. Let me explain. I'm going to give you tell you what, I'm going to tell you a short story about Jake here really quick. Then afterwards, we're going back to driving school.
Midnight Rage on Highway 287. It was a night like any other along the dark, lonely roads of Texas, a sweltering summer night near Wichita Falls, when the ordinary can twist into something truly inexplicable. I'm here to tell you the real story of one fateful evening that still sends shivers down my spine. This isn't just another tale of road rage, it's a journey into the heart of darkness on a stretch of highway that seemed to have a mind of its own. And trust me, what happened that night defies explanation. Jake Whitman was a 27-year-old truck driver known for his steady hands and cool demeanor. That night, he was hauling a load of equipment to a job site near Wichita Falls. The highways were empty, the heat radiating off the asphalt, and the moon hung low over the Texan plains. In his cab, Jake kept his radio low, his eyes scanning the endless road ahead. Nothing could have prepared him for what was about to happen. Somewhere in the back of his mind, Jake recalled the local legends, tales of phantom drivers and cursed highways, but he'd always dismissed them as mere folklore. After all, in Texas, everything is bigger and more extreme, right? Yet as the miles ticked by and the night grew darker, an unsettling feeling began to creep in. As Jake cruised along Highway 287, he noticed a car ahead, a beaten-up pickup truck with rusted fenders and headlights that burned too bright. At first, it seemed normal, but then the pickup started weaving dangerously between lanes, almost as if its driver was on a mission. Jake's grip tightened on the steering wheel as he watched the truck tailgate him aggressively. The radio crackled with a local station playing a slow blues tune that only added to the eerie ambiance. Then came the first encounter. The pickup swerved in front of Jake's rig, forcing him to slam on the brakes. Horns blared, and for a moment time seemed to slow down. In that split second, as Jake's heart pounded in his chest, he caught a glimpse of the driver, a gaunt figure with eyes that burned with anger. There was something unnatural about the glare, a mix of fury and despair that sent chills racing down his spine. Jake muttered, "What the hell?" and resumed his journey, trying to shrug off the encounter as nothing more than a case of road rage. But as he drove on, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, that the highway itself had become a stage for something sinister. Minutes later, as Jake navigated a bend near an abandoned rest area, the pickup reappeared. This time it barreled down behind him, its engine roaring like a beast. Jake's pulse raced as he switched on his headlights, the beams slicing through the darkness. The pickup was getting closer, and with each passing second, its aggressive behavior escalated. He pulled over in a safe spot, hoping to let the angry driver pass, but the pickup didn't slow down. It parked mere feet away, the engine idling ominously. In the silence of the night, Jake could hear his own ragged breathing mixed with the distant hum of cicadas. Then came a message on his CB radio, a garbled voice that barely made sense. "You can't run from it. The highway knows." Jake's blood turned cold. Was it a prank? Or was something far more unsettling at work? As he stared at the pickup's window, he saw the driver's eyes locked onto his, as if challenging him to act. A moment of sheer terror passed, and then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the pickup roared off into the distance, leaving nothing but dust and unanswered questions in its wake. Trying to regain control of his nerves, Jake resumed driving, but the incident had rattled him deeply. The highway seemed to stretch on endlessly, each mile a reminder of that ominous encounter. At a lonely diner off an exit near Wichita Falls, Jake decided to take a break. He sat in a booth sipping lukewarm coffee, his eyes darting to the door every time it opened. A grizzled trucker in a battered hat sitting nearby noticed Jake's uneasy demeanor and leaned over. "You seen the pickup yet?" the old man asked in a gravelly voice. "That ain't no ordinary road rage. That truck's been seen round here for years, chasing folks like a curse." The man told Jake a story about a mysterious pickup driver, a man with a haunted past who had died decades ago in a horrific accident on this very stretch of highway, only to reappear on dark nights, seeking vengeance on anyone who dared to defy fate. Jake scoffed at the tale, yet deep inside, he wondered if there was a kernel of truth to it. The story mingled with his own experience, and he felt a growing sense of dread. Had he encountered something supernatural, a ghost, a cursed spirit, or even a manifestation of his own guilt and fear? Reluctantly, Jake knew he couldn't stay at the diner forever. With the old trucker's warnings echoing in his mind, he returned to his rig and pulled back onto the highway. The sun had long set, and the night air was heavy with humidity and mystery. As he drove, the radio returned to its slow blues, and the highway stretched out like an endless ribbon of darkness. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, he saw movement, a flash of red and chrome in his rearview mirror. The pickup had returned, and it was closer this time. Jake's heart pounded in his ears as he stepped on the accelerator, trying to put distance between himself and the enigmatic vehicle. But no matter how fast he drove, the pickup seemed to remain in relentless pursuit, its engine a constant menacing roar. It was as if it was locked onto him, driven by an unyielding fury. The miles blurred by, and the road became a stage for a deadly game of cat and mouse under the indifferent stars. As the chase continued, the atmosphere inside the cab turned claustrophobic. Jake's eyes darted between the road ahead and the rearview mirror, where the pickup's taillights glowed like the eyes of some predatory animal. His mind raced with questions. Who was this driver? What did he want? And why was he so consumed by rage? In a desperate bid to understand what was happening, Jake pulled over in a desolate stretch of road, far from any towns. He switched off his engine, the silence enveloping him like a thick fog. With trembling hands, he stepped out of his truck and peered down the dark highway. The pickup was nowhere in sight. For a moment, relief washed over him, but it was short-lived. A low, guttural growl emerged from the darkness. Jake spun around to see the pickup slowly rolling into view, its headlights piercing the night like malevolent eyes. The vehicle had stopped right in front of him, its engine idling with a sound that vibrated in his chest. In that moment, Jake realized that this wasn't just a case of road rage, it was something far more sinister. Driven by a mix of terror and determination, Jake climbed back into his cab and slowly approached the pickup. His heart pounded, and every instinct told him to flee, yet he felt compelled to uncover the truth. As he drove alongside the mysterious truck, he rolled down his window and shouted, "What do you want from me?" There was a long, heavy pause before the driver's side window rolled down, revealing the gaunt face of a man with eyes that seemed to burn with otherworldly intensity. His voice was raspy and low, almost a whisper. "You shouldn't have taken that road," he said, his words laden with despair and menace. Jake's blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" he demanded, his voice shaking. The driver's eyes flickered toward the horizon, and for a brief moment, Jake thought he saw a glimpse of something else. An anguish that transcended anger, a sorrow that was centuries old. Before Jake could ask another question, the pickup's radio crackled to life. A distorted voice spoke. "Every night we are forced to relive the accident. Every night the road claims another soul. You too are now part of our endless journey." The words hung in the air like a curse, sending a chill through Jake's veins. Panic took over as Jake tried to accelerate away from the pickup, but no matter how hard he pressed on the accelerator, the mysterious truck remained by his side, its presence an unyielding reminder of the past's hold on the present. The road itself seemed to warp around him, bending in impossible ways, as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling. In a desperate attempt to escape, Jake took a series of sharp turns, hoping to lose the persistent vehicle in the labyrinth of backroads. But the pickup was relentless, following him through every twist and turn with eerie precision. The night grew darker, and the boundary between reality and nightmare blurred. At one point, Jake's rig suddenly sputtered and died, a mechanical failure that left him stranded in the middle of nowhere. In the silence that followed, the pickup slowly pulled up beside him. Its engine's low rumble was the only sound in the oppressive darkness. Jake's hands trembled as he reached for his phone to call for help, but the signal was dead. He was completely isolated, alone with a presence that defied explanation. In that harrowing moment, as the pickup's headlights illuminated the empty stretch of highway, Jake's mind raced through fragments of local lore and ghost stories he had once dismissed. He recalled the old legends of a doomed driver, a man who had perished in a catastrophic accident on this very highway decades ago. Rumors said that his spirit, fueled by guilt and anger, had cursed the road, trapping himself and anyone fortunate enough to cross his path in an endless cycle of violence and despair. Then, as if in answer to his unspoken thoughts, the gaunt driver spoke again, his voice softer this time. "I was once like you, full of hope and ambition, but fate and my own reckless actions led to a terrible tragedy. I lost everything on that fateful night. Now I drive these roads, seeking redemption, forever cursed by the anger that consumed me." Jake's eyes widened in shock as the driver continued. "Every act of rage, every harsh word, every violent moment on this road only feeds the curse. Tonight, your road rage wasn't just an outburst, it was a signal, a call to the spirits of those lost. You've become part of our story." In that moment, something shifted inside Jake. The relentless presence of the pickup, the unnerving persistence. It was all part of a cycle that had repeated for years. He realized that the highway wasn't merely a stretch of asphalt. It was a living memorial, a conduit for the anger and sorrow of a long-forgotten tragedy. And now, Jake found himself standing on the precipice of that same fate. Chapter 10. The Unexpected Twist. Just as despair threatened to overtake him, a sudden flash of light erupted on the horizon. A patrol car, its sirens wailing, appeared in the distance. The pickup's headlights flickered, and for the briefest moment, the relentless pursuit paused. The gaunt driver's expression changed. Gone was the anger, replaced by something akin to relief. The patrol car pulled up beside Jake, and an officer called out, "Sir, are you all right? We got a report of erratic driving." In that split second, Jake's vision blurred. The gaunt driver's eyes locked onto his once more, and in a voice trembling with both sorrow and hope, he said, "You have a choice now. Break the cycle or become part of it forever." The unexpected twist came as Jake reached for his phone to call the officer. A chill ran down his spine as he saw the patrol car's badge number on the windshield. It wasn't from any current department. It was an old, defunct number, one that hadn't been active for over 30 years. The officer's face, visible for just a second through the flashing lights, bore an uncanny resemblance to the gaunt driver. It was as if the spirits of the past were merging with the present in a single, bewildering moment. In that surreal instant, Jake realized the horrifying truth. The cycle of rage, loss, and redemption on this highway was not a curse inflicted by one tormented soul alone. It was a collective spirit, an amalgamation of every victim, every perpetrator, every moment of uncontrolled fury and regret. And in a twist that he could barely comprehend, Jake saw his own face reflected in the officer's eyes, a face that looked haunted, familiar, and achingly lost. Epilogue: a haunting legacy. By the time help arrived, the pickup had vanished into the night, leaving behind nothing but unanswered questions and the heavy silence of a road that had seen too much sorrow. Jake was taken in for questioning, his story dismissed as a tragic hallucination fueled by exhaustion and stress. Yet deep down, he knew what he had experienced was real, a brush with a supernatural cycle that had claimed souls for generations. In the years that followed, the legend of the cursed highway near Wichita Falls only grew. Locals whispered about the ghostly pickup and the tormented driver, and how on certain nights the past comes roaring back to remind the living that every act of road rage has consequences beyond mortal reckoning. And sometimes, when you drive alone at night, you might catch a glimpse of a familiar face in your rearview mirror, a reminder that the line between the living and the lost is frighteningly thin. Jake's life was never the same. Every time he hit the open road, he remembered that night. He became an advocate for safer driving, a living reminder that uncontrolled anger can awaken dark forces best left undisturbed. And somewhere deep in the twilight of Highway 287, the cycle endures, waiting, watching, and ready to claim the next unwary traveler.
So Jake Whitman learned a lesson that I desperately need to learn about road rage. But I did promise you some educational stuff at the end of this video. We're going back to driving school real quick, and it's real simple. This is real simple stuff, okay? You have a steering wheel, right? Usually on this side of the steering wheel, there's a little lever. Maybe it's this side. It's hard to tell when you're not in the car. I think it may be this side. When you want to change lanes, or make a right-hand turn or a left-hand turn, or even getting off the freeway or on the freeway, you do this. Let's say you're going to make a shift into the left lane, okay? Driving along. Oh, check your mirror, okay? It's called a blinker. It's real simple. It's literally this. It takes 1 second. Sometimes you don't even have to do them. Like on my van, you just touch it a little bit and it blinks 3 times. That's enough to get over. Now, if you're going to make a turn, a right-hand turn or something, you just kind of, what side is it on? That's really weird. I can't think of it. Anyway, you just hit a blinker and you go. And it tells everybody where you're going. Flashes a light on the outside of the vehicle. I don't know. I think about half of you don't really know what that is. It's a blinker. Okay, let's go over another thing real quick. They got these square signs. They're on the side of every single street in the United States. Not dirt roads and things like that. Actually, probably most of them, there's a sign and there's a number on it. You know what that number's for? Okay, I want you to look at your speedometer right here, and there's also numbers on that. You need to match that number on your speedometer with the number on that sign. It's a speed limit sign. It even says those words on its speed limit sign. Now, I am guilty of going 5 over, sometimes 10 over, and yeah, I'm an asshole for that. I admit it. I fully admit it. But when I'm in traffic, I rarely do. And when I'm in a situation that could harm others, hardly ever. Maybe 5 over, tops. Okay? There's a reason they make those numbers and they dictate how fast you can go on certain roads. Very good reason. It's called safety. And you should really adhere to those numbers. I know you're too cool, you're in a hurry, you're very important. I get all that. And fine. But you're going to kill somebody, maybe yourself, and or injure them or destroy their property. And for that, you are a total asshole. Straight up asshole. And last lesson, then I'll let you go. We'll talk about liking and subscribing, which I hope you do for this video. If you did, we'll talk about that there's going to be a next week video as well, another short story for you. Let's talk about the fast lane, people. Okay, fast lane on the freeway, right? Yeah, it's the lane on the left. I just want you to hear me out. You're not going to believe me. You're not going to believe me, but in that lane, when you're in that lane, does not mean that you can drive as fast as you want to. Don't forget, there's speed limits, okay? Let's say it's 75 through here. You're supposed to drive 75 on there. Now, if you're doing less than that, you're a straight up asshole, okay? I get that. But if let's say I'm driving in the fast lane, I'm doing 80 and a 75, I'm actively passing cars, you know, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, for the most part. Now, if you pull up in your big old pickup truck, start flashing your lights and honking your horn, you're a straight up asshole. I'm losing subscribers. I can hear it, I can smell it, but it's fine. It's not the kind of people I want in my little circle of friends anyhow. So, help me. I'm asking you to help me cure my road rage. I never get mad at the person driving slow. I go around them. That's just what you do. I never flash my lights and honk my horn unless they're driving dangerously. And if you're driving 100 miles an hour in the fast lane, you're an asshole. If you don't use your blinker, you're an asshole. If you cut people off and you drive drunk or irresponsibly or disrespectfully, you're an asshole. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Thank you for watching Just Awful, especially you Just Awful drivers. And we will see you next week. Like the video if you like the video. Don't worry about my commentary. I'm just trying to talk some sense into you, trying to teach you a little something with my spooky stories, okay? Because if you're one of those people I'm trying to teach, you are just awful. A just awful straight up asshole. I'm done now. I'm smiling. Are you smiling? I hope so. Because I don't want you to have a just awful day. I want you to have a great day. I want you to get to your destination and not piss me off or die. Simple as that. Be respectful, people. Be good drivers. Love ya.